Howdy y'all, you got the Bulldog on the channel. I think that this here is something that a lot of people in my position, which I'm not by myself, I mean there'll be all kinds of them throughout the country, but a lot of people in my position will suffer the same fate. You have your project, the thing that you're working on, because that's what you want. But the boys also got a project, and then the daughter's also got a project, and then the neighbor's also got a project. So you've got a lot going on all the time, and whatever you're doing, it's just not that important. You've got to change the oil on the wife's car. You've got to fix a flat tire over here. There's always other things going on. You wouldn't think that your project would get put off as much as it does, but it happens. This is the truck. Actually, this is my first vehicle right here. My dad bought it for me when I was 14 years old. He helped put the motor together. He paid for the body work in the front. Him and I built the bed that's on it. Now, although it needs new sideboards, this plate here is 1/2 inch thick, so I'm not worried about it rusting out. We built the headache rack, and that was back when, you know, there were no big LED light bars. We're talking the early 90s. So, salvage tractor lights. 2 of them pointing back so that you can work in the bed or work on whatever you had back here, and 2 of them pointing forward. And then my brother did the pin stripping, which used to look really nice. It doesn't anymore, since it's been on there since the first Bush was president. There we go. Them come from a place in Kansas City. I don't know where they can get them now, but Bulldog. I've had that name for a while, and those things were actually on there before I had the name. I didn't give myself the name, though, by the way. The grill is original to the truck. It's an 80 model. Early 80, because the early 80s had round headlights. The late 80s had square headlights. They had a mid-year change. I've had people argue with me on that. Y'all wrong. I have one. See? Look at it. The grill had a bunch of these little things busted out, so I just busted the rest of them out, so now it looks better. And of course, it hasn't moved, I don't know, 2010, 2012, something like that. The hood's original, although it's seen better days. The fenders and doors were replaced in the mid-90s. I was stretching it. It wasn't since the first Bush was president, but the second Bush wasn't president yet. I wanted to get up here and show some of the things that I did to it, and this is something that, oh boy, oh, that door hadn't been opened in a few years. I didn't have money, but I had a neighbor that did some carpet work, so it's got a nice carpeted dash cover. Now, this is an 80 model truck, but I took the whole interior out of a 73 truck with AC. And this is really what I wanted to show you. You know, these gauges over here are terrible about quitting. And since I had an AC dash, there's supposed to be a cubby hole here in the non-ACs. So since I had an AC dash, I had an empty spot right here. And I put a metal plate behind this, cut some holes out in it, and that's where I mount my gauges. Up there where you can see them, I was pretty proud of myself for doing that. You know, as most teenagers are. I think I was 19 when I did that. I was out on my own, living on my own. I used to have a place in town that could rebuild stereos, and so I got an Alpine in there. And here's the other AC duct that I removed out of the dash, and I put a plate in here, and these were, oh, that's nice, somebody turned on all the switches. But one switch was the fog lights up front, one switch was the top lights going forward, one switch was the top lights going backwards, and then I had an extra switch for whenever I put in an AC compressor for air. Honestly, I don't know how many miles the truck has on it. 100 and some thousand maybe. I don't remember. Miles are irrelevant to me, especially when it comes to those old square body trucks, because you just keep fixing them. Hopefully the frame is still good, because it's been immobile for quite a while. The rear end actually fell out. It's just kind of sitting on there with some ratchet straps holding it in right now. And of course I got to have the spoke steering wheel. Because the seat doesn't work very well, I wanted smaller steering wheels for sliding in. It's also cocked forward a little bit, so you're always, put great big tires on the back, so you're always running downhill. You save fuel that way. And here's the carburetor that used to be on it, Carter AFB, something from the 60s. I had everything set to go together with it, but I just haven't been able to get to it. It's like everything else I do. It can get put off, I'm not that important. So other people come first, and whenever you come last, you don't come at all. So maybe things can open up and I can get 2 things like this for me before I die. But honestly, I'm really not thinking that that's going to work. Let's see if I can get this door shut. Yep. Here's something my dad and I did since we were going to use this as a work truck. Of course, it's got 5th wheel ball to pull with, but we welded on angle irons sticking out here, and then put the taillights in the corner so stuff that smacks up against it wouldn't bust the taillights. What he did on his truck is he had a couple of starter housings and welded them to that, and put the little round lights inside those. And then we got to where we couldn't get those lights anymore, so he went to the square ones. And then here a couple of years ago, I put LED taillights on it. El Cheapos, from farm store, but they work. I used to have nice stickers all over it. The hitch, I need to do something with that, get a receiver or something for it. At the time we were going to be farming, so everything's pin hitched that I got. Honestly, I'd like to put receivers and stuff, but I just never take the time to do it. Up under the hood here, this really makes me kind of sick. This is an Olds 350, and this engine only has about 500 miles on it. I don't know if it's even free anymore. It's got a brand new radiator, Holly 600, and just straight pipe manifolds, because I hadn't gotten a chance to put the exhaust on it yet. I just, like I say, I got to that point in 2008. I got it to this point, and I had moved back here to the farm 3 or 4 years before that. You know, whatever. I was still, you know, putting a little bit of, hey, that's where that socket went. I haven't raised this hood in months. Actually, my son was in here. That's what he was doing. He was checking to see if this thing was stuck. That's where everything gets off to. And here's the handle to my serpentine belt tool. Nice. But in 2008, there was a flood event on the Mississippi. This was down at the other shop, and my dad drove it home with a trailer hooked onto it with a big load on the trailer. It ran great. Couldn't hear anything when he got home, and he pulled it into the shop down there, and he said when he got out, fuel was pouring out of the tank, so it was rusted out. All right, we'll get a tank. And started it up, moved it once since then, and all the fuel was leaked out of it. Then I had to get a second job because of 2008, everything else that happened then. It's when I started working here at home, and I haven't quit since, you know. Been a lot of 100-hour weeks since then, and it has not slowed down really. It'll get slow, but you know what it's like whenever you're somebody that works for a living on, oh, what do you call it? Job by job, you know, gig basis. When you're busy, you don't have time. When you have time, you don't have money. Because being busy is what gets you the money. You never are able to put money away whenever you're busy. Never. People say, well, you ought to raise your price or ought to do this, that, and the other. That's what causes the slow times too. Oh, he charges too much, so they'll just all of a sudden kind of quit coming. Everybody else runs out of money about the same time, and oh, it's just a cycle. Hopefully, cross my fingers, I get time to get back to this and can enjoy it a little bit before I die. Doubt it, honestly. Like, comment, subscribe, hit your little bell notification, share it all around. We'll talk to you later.